A very good afternoon to all. So today we are going to discuss chemical coordination and integration. I'm launching poll. Quickly answer through poll. My audio is clear and my screen is visible. So in the previous class, we have discussed about neural coordination. As you all know that neural coordination is short-lived and it is fast as compared to chemical coordination. We know that in our body, there are millions of cells and the nerve fibers, they cannot reach to every cells. So to compensate that, there is a chemical coordination and the chemical coordination is slow as compared to neural coordination, but it is long lasting. Its effect is long lasting. And chemical coordination takes place through hormones. So the first thing that we are going to discuss is the endocrine glands. Endocrine glands, they are the ductless glands. They does not have duct. For example, you can see there's an endocrine cells in the figure, and these endocrine cells, they are secreting the hormone directly into the blood, and the blood will carry these hormones to their respective target cells or tissue. Endocrine glands, they secrete hormones, and the hormones are non-nutrient chemicals. Non-nutrient means that these hormones, they cannot be used as a source of energy. For example, we can use carbohydrate, proteins, and fat as a source of energy. But we cannot use hormone as a source of energy. That is why hormones are non-nutrient chemicals, which act as an intercellular messenger. They act as a messenger between the two cells. So it is intercellular. And these hormones, they are produced in a very trace amount, that is low amount. So today we are going to discuss different types of endocrine glands. They are pituitary gland, hypothalamus gland, pineal gland, thymus, pancreas, thyroid, adrenal gland, ovaries, and testes. We are going to discuss each gland one by one and their functions. First, we are going to discuss is hypothalamus gland. Hypothalamus is a basal part of diencephalon, which is a part of forebrain. Remember, in the neural coordination, when I taught you neural coordination, I told you that forebrain is known as prosencephalon. And prosencephalon is further divided into telencephalon and diencephalon. Diencephalon give rise to thalamus, epithalamus, and hypothalamus. So hypothalamus is a basal part of diencephalon. And it contains nuclei. Nuclei are the neurosecretory cells. These nuclei, they produce hormones. And these hormones, they regulate the synthesis and the secretion of the pituitary hormones. So hypothalamus, it produces two hormones. There's a releasing hormone and the inhibitory hormone. So if I talk about releasing hormone, it could be growth hormone, releasing hormone. It could be thyrotropin releasing hormone, melanocyte releasing hormone. It could be prolactin releasing hormone. It could be adrenocorticoid releasing hormone. An inhibitory hormone could be prolactin inhibitory hormone. Melanocyte inhibitory hormone. And the growth inhibitory hormone. Moving next is the pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is located in the bony cavity of sella turcica. Remember that skull has 8 bones, right? Our brain has 8 bones. And there's one bone called sphenoid bone. This sphenoid bone has a cavity which is known as sella turcica. And in this bony cavity, the pituitary gland is situated. Pituitary gland is consist of two parts. The anterior one is known as adenohypophysis and the posterior one is known as neurohypophysis. Anterior is further divided into two, which is pars distalis and pars intermedia. Similarly, neurohypophysis, which is the posterior pituitary, it also known as pars nervosa. And the pituitary gland is attached to the hypothalamus with the stalk, which is known as infundibulum. This is the stalk. There's one more important point. There's a hormone which is known as oxytocin and vasopressin. Remember these hormones. Well, another name for vasopressin is ADH, antidiuretic hormone. Both these hormones are synthesized by or produced by hypothalamus, but these hormones are stored in the posterior part of the pituitary. Okay, these hormones are synthesized by hypothalamus and stored in the posterior part of pituitary, which is neurohypophysis. Remember this. So these are the hormones which are produced by the interior and posterior pituitary. Anterior pituitary, which consists of pars distalis and pars intermedia. It releases thyroid stimulating hormone which act on the thyroid gland and produce thyroid hormone like T3 and T4. Adrenal corticoid hormone which act on adrenal cortex and releases the steroid hormone which are known as glucocorticoid. They are gonadotropin releasing hormone which are follicle stimulating hormone or luteinizing hormone, the growth hormone, prolactin hormone. And the posterior part of the pituitary, it releases oxytocin and vasopressin, or also known as ADH. Remember one important point, that pars intermedia, which is a part of anterior pituitary, it releases only one hormone, which is melanocyte stimulating hormone, which act on melanocytes and these melanocytes, the main function is to produce melanin pigment, which is responsible for skin darkening. Moving next is the role of the pituitary hormone. Number one is the growth hormone. Main function of the growth hormone is to stimulate growth and repair. If this growth hormone are secreted in a very high amount or excessive amount, it will lead to the gigantism disease. And if they are secreted in a very low amount, it will lead to dwarfism. Next is a thyroid stimulating hormone. Thyroid stimulating hormone will act on the thyroid gland and it will allow or stimulate the thyroid gland to release the thyroid hormone, which are T4, thyroxine, and T3, triiodothyronine. Next is the adrenal corticoid hormone. Adrenal corticoid hormone, they will act on adrenal gland, especially the adrenal cortex, and stimulate the adrenal gland to produce glucocorticoid. Glucocorticoid example is cortisol or cortisone, and they play a very important role in carbohydrate metabolism. Next one is prolactin hormone. Prolactin hormone will play a very important role on the growth of it play a very important role in the development and the growth of the mammary gland and the formation of milk. Luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone in case of male stimulate the synthesis and secretion of androgen from the testis, and in case of female it induces ovulation and also promote the development and formation of corpus luteum. Follicle stimulating hormone, in case of the male, they promote spermatogenesis. In case of female, they stimulate the growth and development of the ovarian follicle. Now, there's a melanocyte stimulating hormone. They will act on the melanocytes which are present in skin, and they will stimulate the production and release of the pigment, which is melanin, which regulate the pigmentation of the skin. Oxytocin and vasopressin. These two hormones, remember, they are synthesized by hypothalamus and stored in posterior part of pituitary. Function of oxytocin is in the fetal ejection and the milk ejection from the mammary gland. Vasopressin is involved in the conditional reabsorption of water and electrolyte from the distal tubule DCT and the collecting duct, and they prevent the loss of water through urine. So vasopressin, they maintain the balance of water and electrolyte in the body fluid. Now next gland is the pineal gland, which is present on the dorsal side of forebrain, and it is also known as a third eye. Pineal gland, it secretes a hormone which is known as melatonin, and melatonin play a very important role in defense mechanism, and it controls the sleep-wake cycle. It maintains the rhythm of the body. In addition, melatonin also influences metabolism, pigmentation, and menstrual cycle as well. Moving next is the thyroid gland. Thyroid gland, it is located on either side of a trachea. You can see that. And they are forming a H-shaped structure like this. So they are also known as H gland. They're also known as butterfly gland. And they have two lobes, right lobes and the left lobe. And both the lobes, they are connected with the isthmus. Thyroid gland is consists of follicle and the stromal tissue. These are the thyroid follicle. For example, it's 1, 2, and 3. In the middle, their parafollicle cells are present. And these parafollicle cells, they release a hormone which is known as thyrocalcitonin. And thyrocalcitonin, as the name suggests, calcitonin. That means they are going to regulate the calcium level in the blood. And these thyroid follicles, they store T3 and T4, which are the thyroid hormones. T3 is known as thyroxine, and T4 is known as thyroxine, and T3 is known as triiodothyronine. If there is a deficiency of T3, the iodine play a very important role in the synthesis and regulation of T3 and T4 in our body. So if there's a deficiency of iodine in the blood or in the body, it will lead to a disease which is known as goiter. And in goiter, the enlargement of the thyroid gland takes place. If there is a deficiency of T3 and T4 by birth, this is known as cretinism, where the deficiency of T3 and T4 by birth. In this, there's a low metabolism is observed, mental retardation, and stunted growth. If there's a deficiency of T3 and T4 after puberty, that disease is known as myxedemia. It also lead to low metabolism and weight gain. If the T3 and T4 are present in excess in the body, it leads to a hypothyroidism condition, and the disease is known as grave disease. It is an autoimmune disorder. Now, thyroid hormone, they also play a very important role in maintaining the basal metabolic rate of the body. They control the metabolism of carbohydrate, proteins, and fat. They also maintain the water and electrolyte balance, and they secrete a protein hormone called thyrocalcitonin. And main function of thyrocalcitonin is to regulate the blood calcium level. Second, now moving next is the parathyroid gland. Parathyroid gland, they are present on the back side of the thyroid gland. They produce a hormone which is parathyroid hormone, and parathyroid hormone, it also regulates the calcium level in the blood. They increase the calcium level, okay? Thyrocalcitonin, it acting as a hypocalcemic. Hypocalcemic means it lowering the calcium level in the blood. But parathyroid hormone, it acting as a hypercalcemic. Hypercalcemic means they increase the calcium level in the blood. Now see, if there's a low calcium level in the blood, in that case, parathyroid gland will activate. Parathyroid gland will secrete a hormone which is parathyroid hormone. Parathyroid hormone will perform three functions. First, it will lead to bone resorption. Or bone demineralization. In this case, what will happen? The calcium from the bone will be released into the blood. So it will lead to increase in calcium in the blood. Second, parathyroid hormone will act on kidney. And kidney will produce calciferol. And the calciferol will increase the calcium uptake from small intestine. Now, third one, the parathyroid hormone also act on the renal tubules. It will act on the renal tubules, and it will increase the calcium uptake or prevent the loss of calcium through urine. Now let's assume if there's a increase in calcium level in the blood, if the calcium is present in high concentration in the blood. Now, then what will happen? If the calcium is present in high concentration in blood, now thyroid gland will active. Thyroid gland will produce thyrocalcitonin. This thyrocalcitonin will take the calcium from the blood and give it to bone. So it will lead to bone strengthening. Okay, so thyrocalcitonin, it is decreasing the calcium level in the blood. So it is hypocalcemic. So it is hypocalcemic in nature. Whereas parathyroid hormone, it is increasing the calcium level in the blood. So it is hypercalcemic in nature. Okay, I hope it is clear now. Moving next is the thymus gland. Thymus gland is located between the lungs behind the sternum, here, on the ventral side of the aorta. This gland secretes thymosin. Thymosin play a very important role in immunity. It plays a very important role in the differentiation of T lymphocytes. T lymphocytes will be differentiated into T helper cell, T cytotoxic cell, T suppressor cells, and memory cells. Okay, so it helps in the differentiation of T lymphocytes. It also provides cell-mediated immunity. It also promotes the production of antibodies in the humoral immunity. And this is the only gland, remember, this is the only gland which degenerated as the age increases. Okay? So the thymus is degenerated in old individual. As the age increases, this glands start degenerating. Next one is the adrenal gland. Adrenal gland is present on the anterior part of each kidney. You can see this. This is the adrenal gland which is present on the anterior part of each kidney. And it is divided into two parts. This outer is the cortex and the inner one is medulla. You can see the outer one is the cortex and the inner one is medulla. So cortex is further consists of three layers. The outermost is the zona glomerulusa, middle one is zona fasciculata, and inner one is zona reticularis. You can see that zona fasciculata is the widest layer. And the outermost is zona glomerulosa. Now this cortex of the adrenal gland, it produces the corticoid hormone. If the corticoid hormone play a role in carbohydrate metabolism, then we call it as glucocorticoid. If the corticoid hormone play an important role in water absorption and electrolyte, and maintain the balance of the water and electrolyte in the body fluid, then we call it as mineral corticoid. Please remember their name. That example of glucocorticoid is cortisol and cortisone. Example of mineral corticoid is aldosterone and corticosterone. Now the medulla of the adrenal gland, it produces a hormone which are known as emergency hormone. These are epinephrine or norepinephrine. And we also call it as adrenaline or non-adrenaline. And they are collectively or commonly known as catecholamines. These hormones are produced during emergency and they increase the alertness of the body. Moving next is the pancreas. Pancreas is a composite gland, or we also call it as heterocrine gland. Because it performs two functions, it can be act as an exocrine and it can be act as an endocrine. Exocrine because they secrete pancreatic juice, and endocrine because they can also produce hormone. And when I was teaching you digestion and absorption, I told you that the pancreatic juice is the complete digestive juice because it contains all the enzymes which are required for digestion. It contains nucleases for the digestion of nucleic acid. It contains amylase for digestion of carbohydrate. It contains lipase for the digestion of fatty fats. It contains proteolytic enzyme for digestion of protein like chymotrypsin, carboxypeptidase, and trypsin. So it's a complete digestive juice. The unit of exocrine is the aqueous cells and they secrete pancreatic juice. And the endocrine, it consists of islets of Langerhans. And they consist of alpha cell, beta cell, del cell, F cell, okay? So there's alpha cell, there's beta cell, there's del cell, and there's F cell. So alpha cell will produce glucagon, beta cell will produce insulin, del cell will decrease or suppress the secretion of the alpha cell and the beta cell. And F cell will stimulate the secretion of pancreatic juice. So if there's a high blood glucose is present, if there's a high blood sugar is present, in that case, the pancreas will produce insulin. Insulin will stimulate the glucose uptake from blood. So insulin will lower the glucose level in the blood by stimulating the glycogen formation. So all the glucose will be converted to glycogen and it will lead to lower blood sugar. If the blood sugar is low, in that case, the pancreas will produce glucagon. Glucagon will stimulate the breakdown of glycogen. So glycogen will again break down to glucose and it will increase the sugar level in the blood. Okay, so glucagon is functioning as hyperglycemic. Hyper means high, glycemic means glucose. So it is increasing the glucose level in the blood, so it is hyperglycemic, whereas insulin is hypoglycemic. Remember this. Hypo means low, glycemic means glucose. So insulin will lower the glucose level in the blood. Moving next is the testes, are present in the scrotal sac outside abdomen of male. They are present outside in the scrotal sac, and this scrotal sac, they lie outside of the abdomen to maintain 2 to 2.5 degree temperature less as compared to the body temperature. They perform dual function as a primary sex organ and as well as endocrine organ. They composed of seminiferous tubule and interstitial cells, where the interstitial cells or the Leydig cell, they produce androgen, mainly testosterone. And the function of androgen is to regulate the development, maturation, and the function of the male accessory sex organs. Moving next is the ovary. Ovary is located in the abdomen of female. It acts as a primary female sex organ. It produces two hormones, and these hormones are steroid in nature. It produces estrogen and progesterone. Progesterone is secreted by the corpus luteum and it helps during pregnancy. Estrogen is synthesized by ovarian follicle and it helps in the development of ovarian follicles and also the appearance of female secondary sex characters. Moving next, there are some other hormones which are produced by the heart, kidney, and the gastrointestinal tract. First hormone is the atrial natriuretic factor. This hormone is produced by the wall of heart. And the function of this hormone is vasodilation. It acts as a vasodilator. It will increase the lumen of the vessel, or it will increase the size of the lumen of the vessel. So it acts as a vasodilator. Or if you increase the size of the lumen of the vessel, it will lower the blood pressure. So it decreases the blood pressure. Second one is juxtaglomerular cells of kidney. They produce erythropoietin. And erythropoietin stimulate erythropoiesis. Erythro means RBC, poiesis means formation. So they are involved in the formation of RBC. Next one is the gastrointestinal tract. It produces 4 major peptide hormones. First is gastrin. Gastrin is produced by the G cells of the stomach, and these G cells will act on gastric gland. And will stimulate the secretion of gastric juice. Secretin, it is produced in duodenum. It will act on pancreas and stimulate the secretion of water and bicarbonate ion. In order to neutralize the food which is coming from the stomach, because the food in the stomach is acidic in nature because of the presence of HCl. So to neutralize this acidic food, secretin act on pancreas to secrete more water and more bicarbonate ion to neutralize this food. Cholecytokinin, this is also produced in duodenum. And the function of this, it will act on gallbladder and pancreas. Act on gallbladder to produce bile juice, act on pancreas to produce pancreatic juice. Now, gastric inhibitory peptide, it will suppress the secretion of gastric juice. Moving next is the mechanism of protein hormone action. So there are two types of hormones. One is peptide hormone and another one is steroid hormone. Peptide hormone, they are water soluble. And steroid hormone, they are fat soluble. Because peptide hormones are water soluble, that means they are hydrophilic in nature, right? And we all know that the membrane is phospholipid bilayer. This is a phospholipid bilayer. It is lipid bilayer. So these fat soluble or the peptide hormone, they cannot cross the membrane easily. That is why the receptors are present on the membrane. So all the peptide hormone will have a membrane bound receptor. Remember this. And steroid hormone, because they are fat soluble, they can easily cross the membrane. So their receptors are present inside the cell, within the cell. So it is intracellular receptor. So they have intracellular receptor. So here, follicle stimulating hormone is a peptide hormone. So the receptors are present on a membrane. This is a membrane-bound receptor. So when this hormone binds to this receptor, it results a response. And this response will stimulate or lead to the generation of a secondary messenger, which is cyclic AMP or calcium. This cyclic AMP or calcium will result in a further cascade. It will lead to a cascade of signaling and it will produce a biochemical response. And all the biochemical response collectively, they result in a physiological response, which is the ovarian growth in this case, because the hormone is follicle stimulating hormone. Okay. Moving next is the mechanism of steroid hormone. As I told you, the steroid hormones, they are fat soluble in nature. Because they're fat soluble in nature, so they can easily cross the membrane. So their receptors are present in the cell. So they have intracellular receptor. So when the hormone enter into the cell, it will interact with the receptor and they form a complex, which is a hormone receptor complex. This complex will interact with the DNA or the genome of the cell. It leads to a formation of mRNA. By transcription, then mRNA will form the protein. And these protein will lead to a physiological response, which is tissue growth and differentiation in this case. I hope it is clear to everyone. Now let's move to the question. Question number 1 says select the correct statement. Option 1 is insulin is associated with hyperglycemia. Second is glucocorticoids stimulate gluconeogenesis. Third is glucagon is associated with hypoglycemia. Fourth is insulin act on pancreatic cells and adipocytes. Quickly answer. What do you think? What will be the correct option for this question? They're asking about the correct statement. Okay. They're asking about the correct statement. First is insulin. Insulin lowers blood sugar level, right? So it is hypoglycemic. Glucagon increases the blood sugar level. So it is hyper. Hyper means high and glycemic means glucose. So increase blood sugar level. So glucagon is hyperglycemic. Insulin is hypoglycemic. Remember this. Beta cells produces insulin. Alpha cell produces glucagon. And they both are the part of endocrine system of pancreas. Remember this, okay? Now glucocorticoid. Adrenal gland, they have cortex and medulla. Cortex produce corticoid, which play an important role in carbohydrate metabolism. They are known as glucocorticoid. Example is cortisol or cortisone. Right? These glucocorticoid, they play an important role in gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis is the formation of glucose. Now let's see the correct statement. Insulin is associated with hyperglycemia. No, it is associated with hypoglycemia. First, wrong. Third says glucagon is associated with hypoglycemia. No, it is associated with hyperglycemia. So third is wrong. Insulin act on pancreatic cells and adipocyte. No, insulin act on glucose. So the option is that glucocorticoids stimulate gluconeogenesis. Yes, glucocorticoids stimulate gluconeogenesis. So correct option is 2. Now moving next. Which one of the following hormone is not involved in sugar metabolism? Which of the following hormone is not involved in sugar metabolism? Option 1 is glucagon. Option 2 is cortisone. Option 3 is aldosterone. Option 4 is insulin. What do you think? What will be the correct option for this question? Yes, very good. Question says which of the following hormone is not involved in sugar metabolism? Glucagon, I told you, hyperglycemic in nature, increase the sugar level in the blood. Insulin is also involved in sugar metabolism. It is hypoglycemic in nature. It lowers the sugar level in the blood. Cortisone, I told you that glucocorticoid, example is cortisol and cortisone. Remember? And corticoid hormone, which play an important role in carbohydrate metabolism, are known as glucocorticoids. So they're playing an important role in carbohydrate metabolism. That means sugar metabolism. So cortisone. Next comes aldosterone. Aldosterone is a mineral corticoid. And aldosterone function is absorb it maintains the water and electrolyte balance in the body fluid. So it is not involved with the sugar metabolism. So the correct option is 3 because they're asking which one of the following hormone is not involved in sugar metabolism. Glucagon, cortisone, insulin, they all are involved in sugar metabolism, but not aldosterone. Okay. So correct option is 3. I hope it is clear, MS Gauri. Moving next is, which of the following hormone is produced under the condition of stress, which stimulate the glycogenolysis in the liver of human being? Option 1 is thyroxine, option 2 is insulin, option 3 is adrenaline, and option 4 is estradiol. What do you think, what will be the correct option for this question? Yes, very good, very good. Very good, MS Gauri. Very good, Chichini. Which of the following hormone is produced under the condition of stress, which stimulates glycogenolysis? Okay. So glycogenolysis, glycogen, lysis means breakdown. So breakdown of glycogen is glycogenolysis. That means if glycogen is broken down, it will produce glucose. So it will increase the glucose level. They are produced under the stress condition. That means under the emergency condition. Which hormone is produced under the emergency condition? Remember, the adrenal gland had two-part cortex and medulla, right? The medulla produces the emergency hormone, which are also known as the hormones of flight and fight. These emergency hormones are adrenaline or non-adrenaline. They're also known as epinephrine or norepinephrine. So question 3 says, which of the following hormone is produced under stress condition? That means they're talking about the emergency condition. So in the emergency condition, emergency hormone will release, and the emergency hormones are adrenaline and non-adrenaline. We stimulate glycogenolysis in the liver of human being. That means they stimulate breakdown of glycogen to increase the glucose level in the blood and also increases the alertness of the body. So option 3, adrenaline is the correct option. Now moving next. This chapter is very important, students. Please do one thing, make a table. In one column of the table, write the glands, name of the glands. In the second column of the table, write their respective hormone. And on the third column of the table, write the function of each hormone. And in the fourth table, write the respective diseases. Okay? Make this table, then you can easily remember all the glands, their respective hormone, their function, as well as their respective diseases. Okay? Now question number 4 says, select the correct statement. A is angiotensin to activate the cortex of adrenal gland to release aldosterone. B statement says, aldosterone leads to increase in blood pressure. C says A and F act as a check on renin-angiotensin mechanism. D says ADH causes vasodilation. E is vasopressin is released from the adenohypophysis. Choose the most appropriate answer from the option given below. They're asking about the correct statement. Okay. So first says that angiotensin 2 activates the cortex of the adrenal gland to release aldosterone. Yes, beta. If you remember the excretory product and their elimination, in that chapter, I told you the regulation of kidney. In the regulation of kidney, there's a role of angiotensin 2, there's a role of aldosterone, and the role of ANF there. So first, that angiotensin 2 activate the cortex of the adrenal gland to release aldosterone. Yes. Here the aldosterone, I'm talking about the statement 1. Here the aldosterone, main function of the aldosterone is the conditional absorption of water, right? So if they will absorb water, that means they will increase the blood volume. And if they increase the blood volume, they will increase the blood pressure. This is how they regulate the kidney function. So it is true that angiotensin 2 activate the cortex of adrenal gland to release aldosterone. Option 2 says aldosterone lead to increase in blood pressure. Yes, this is also true. I told you that aldosterone, it leads to a conditional reabsorption of water. Okay. And if the aldosterone will absorb more water, it will increase the blood volume. If the blood volume will increase, it will increase the blood pressure. Okay. So aldosterone leads to increase in blood pressure. It is true. C says that ANF, which is atrial natriuretic factor, which is released by the walls of heart, act as a check on renin-angiotensin mechanism. Yes, because renin-angiotensin mechanism, they are indirectly increases the blood pressure. Okay, they are indirectly increasing the blood pressure by increasing the blood volume. So to regulate this, heart walls, they release the ANF, which is an atrial natriuretic factor. And the function of this atrial natriuretic factor is to lower the blood pressure by acting as a vasodilator, by increasing the size of the lumen of the blood vessel, because of which the more blood can flow, and then it lowers this is how it lowers the blood pressure. D says that ADH causes vasodilation. ADH is also known as vasopressin. It does not act as a vasodilator, it acts as a vasoconstrictor. E says vasopressin is released from adenohypophysis. Adenohypophysis is anterior pituitary. And I told you that vasopressin and oxytocin both are synthesized by hypothalamus gland, but they are synthesized by the hypothalamus gland but stored in the posterior pituitary. So it will be released from posterior pituitary or neurohypophysis, not from adenohypophysis. Okay, remember this. So this is wrong, this is wrong, and they're asking these select the correct statements. So statement A is correct, statement B is correct, and statement C is correct. So A, B, C. Option 4th will be the correct option for this question. I hope it is clear to everyone. Now moving next. Hormone stored and released from neurohypophysis. Now you can easily answer. Hormone stored and released from neurohypophysis, that is a posterior pituitary. Option 1 says thyroid stimulating hormone and oxytocin. Option 2 says oxytocin and vasopressin. Option 3 says follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. Option 4 says prolactin and vasopressin. What do you think? What will be the correct option for this question? Very good, very good. I want everyone to answer. Vena, Dhruvi, quickly answer. Remember these two hormones, oxytocin and vasopressin. These are very important. They are synthesized by hypothalamus and stored and released from posterior part of the pituitary, which is neurohypophysis. So the correct option is 2, which is oxytocin and vasopressin. Now moving next. Question 6 says the normal sleep-wake cycle in a human body is maintained by the secretion of. Option A is thymus gland. Option 2 is pineal gland. Option 3 is pituitary gland. Option 4 is thyroid gland. What do you think? What will be the correct option for this question? Very good. Very good. Very good, MS Gauri and Chichuni. Very good. Yes, it is P. Very good, Vena. Yes, it is pineal gland because pineal gland will secrete melatonin and melatonin play an important role in maintaining the sleep-wake cycle or the rhythm of the body, and it also play a very important role in defense mechanism. Remember this. Now moving next. Which of the following are not, remember, are not the effect of parathyroid hormone? A. Stimulate the process of bone resorption, decreases the calcium level in the blood, reabsorption of calcium by renal tubule, decreases the absorption of calcium from the digestive food, increases the metabolism of carbohydrate. Choose the most appropriate answer from the option given below. So what do you think? What will be the correct option? Because they're asking about are not the effect of parathyroid hormone. Okay. Try to recall the function of parathyroid hormone. Then you can easily answer this. Try to remember the flow chart. Okay, so parathyroid hormone, it is released by the parathyroid gland, and its function, it has act hypercalcemic. Hyper means high and calcemic means calcium. That means it's going to increase or raise the level of the calcium in the blood. First option says stimulate the process of bone resorption. Yes, it is true. Very good, MS Gauri. Very good, Chishni. So option A is correct. Statement A, sorry. Statement A is correct. Now statement B say decreases the calcium level in the blood. No, I told it is hypercalcemic in nature, so it will increase the calcium level in the blood. It will not going to decrease it. C says resorption of calcium by renal tubule. Yes. Remember, the parathyroid hormone, they act on renal tubule and they increase the resorption of the calcium or prevent the loss of the calcium through urine. Very good, Vana. Now statement D says decreases the absorption of calcium from the digestive food? No. It acts on kidney, and kidney will release calciferol. Calciferol will increase the uptake of the calcium from the small intestine, that is from the digestive food. So it does not decrease, it increases the absorption of calcium from the digestive food. Increase the metabolism of carbohydrate? No. It plays a role in regulating the calcium level in the blood. So it does not play any role in increasing the metabolism of carbohydrate. So they're asking which of the following are not the effect of parathyroid hormone. So B, there's D, and there's E. So correct option will be A, B, D, and E only. I hope it is clear to everyone. Question number 8 says match the following column and select the correct option. A is pituitary gland. Column A has pituitary gland, thyroid gland, adrenal gland, and pancreas. Column 2 has their respective diseases like grave disease, diabetes mellitus, diabetes insipidus, Addison disease. Quickly match column 1 and column 2 and tell me what is the correct option for this question. A is pituitary gland. And remember, the posterior part of pituitary releases a hormone which is the ADH or vasopressin. If there is a deficiency of vasopressin, or the vasopressin is released in a very low amount, in that case, it leads to a disease which is known as diabetes insipidus. So A would be 3. B, thyroid gland. If the T3 and T3 and T4, they are present in very high concentration in the body. Very good, MS Gauri and Vana. So if the T3 and T4 hormone, they are present in a very high concentration in the body, it will lead to a hyperthyroidism condition, and that lead to a grave disease. So B1. C is adrenal gland. Remember this, A for adrenal gland and A for Addison. When the adrenal gland produces the hormone in a very insufficient amount, okay? The adrenal gland is not producing the enough hormone to meet the requirement or the need of the body, then it leads to a disease which is known as Addison disease. So C, 4th. Now D, pancreas. Endocrine part of the pancreas has alpha cell and beta cell. Alpha cell produce glucagon, beta cell produce insulin. If the insulin is not functioning properly, okay, if the insulin is not functioning properly, it will increase that means it will lead to a condition where the glucose level will increase in blood, okay? And that will lead to diabetes mellitus. So D, 2nd. A, 3rd, B1, C, 4th, and D, 2nd. So correct option is 4th. I hope it is clear to everyone. Now it's already 1. We're winding up the class. Thank you all for your participation. I hope this lecture was informative for you. Thank you all. See you in the next class and have a nice day.